Over the years, I've spent thousands of dollars trying out different tools, gadgets, and apps, and if there's one thing I've learned, it's that there's a lot of stuff out there that's overhyped, unnecessary, or just another distraction disguised as productivity. I try to be very intentional about the tools that I bring into my daily life, and after testing a ton of stuff, only a handful have proven to genuinely improve my quality of life. Today I'm sharing 5 of those tools, and each of them have made a real difference in my focus, my productivity, my finances, my health, and my overall quality of life, and they might do the same for you. Let's dive into it. All right, this first tool solves a problem that I've talked a lot about on this channel, which is the dangers of tech devices like the iPhone, and in particular, things like social media, screen addiction, and how all of this can really hijack your attention, motivation, and focus. Devices like the iPhone have, over the years, strayed from their original purpose, which was to be this practical tool that had all these productive functions, and it has now become more of this distraction dopamine slot machine. So one of the best tools I've found that allow you to maintain all of the practical, productive functions of your phone that are essential in modern society while removing 99% of the negative, distracting elements is this tool called the Dumb Phone Launcher. So how this app works is that it replaces the bright, colorful icons on your home screen with this minimalist text layout. And the way it works is pretty cool. Basically, these are different widgets that you can customize with different apps, and each little line of text maps to a shortcut, which opens up that app. You can go into the settings and customize a lot of things here. The style, you can add different apps. And so how I like to approach this is I just keep the apps that I want to intentionally use on a regular basis, and they usually provide some type of practical, productive function. So like my calendar, notes, reminders, ChatGPT, calorie tracking app, podcasts, Spotify, things like that. And then all other apps that might be more distracting, I either hide from the home screen completely or delete off the device. I go more in depth on the setup in other videos on my channel, but if you struggle at all with staying focused, you get distracted by your phone, impulsively check things like social media, YouTube, email, implementing this setup is by far the quickest way that I've found to break those bad habits and revert your smartphone back into that practical tool that Steve Jobs originally designed and away from this sort of distraction machine that it's become for so many of us. All right, this next tool addresses an issue that is important to all of us, whether we like it or not, and that is money. If you have some important goals in your life, projects you want to pursue, or habits you're trying to build, but you still have, a stressful financial life, you're disorganized on that front, then most of that other stuff is probably going to get pushed aside, or you're not going to have the mental clarity and space to be able to put real effort into it until you get your finances sorted. And so the tool that I've been using for many years now is this app called Copilot. It helps you track spending, investments, recurring charges, all in one place in this super nice, clean layout, intuitive design. It's kind of like Mint from back in the day, except like way better. One of my favorite features, since I purchase a lot of things on Amazon, is that you can actually link your Amazon account to Copilot. So if you look at your normal credit card statement, when you buy something on Amazon, it just says like Amazon and then like some random numbers or letters, but this will link the specific items that you bought to that transaction so you can see kind of exactly what you bought and incorporate that into your budget and have more accurate expense tracking. Kind of nerdy stuff, I know, but that makes a big difference for me. You can easily track your net worth, your investment portfolio, cash flow, set spending goals, and just do so many things that helps simplify this whole world of personal finance, which is oftentimes made way more complicated than it needs to be. Now, it is a paid app. I think it costs something like $10 or $12 a month, but I'm not sponsored by Copilot in any way. I've just been using it for years, and for me, it's genuinely worth the investment because it definitely gives me a positive ROI. Because if you think about it, if I spend $10 or $12, whatever it is a month on this, but it helps me save, 20, 50, hundreds of dollars each month because I can, better track my expenses and cut out unnecessary spending, things like that, then I'm getting a positive ROI from using this app. So if you're going to allocate some money to software subscriptions, having one like Copilot that helps you manage your financial life is definitely worth it in my opinion. Now, I do have another video on my channel where I go in more depth on how I use Copilot in conjunction with my finance tracking spreadsheet and how I sort of systemize and automate some of my budgeting and investments. But I have made a few tweaks to that method since then. So let me know if you want me to make an updated video or make more personal finance or money content in general. I do work in finance and have an economics background, so I'd be happy to start making more content like that. If people are interested, let me know down in the comments. Now, once your finances are organized, it frees up so much mental bandwidth for you to now take control of your time and organize other parts of your life so that you can make consistent progress on the things that are important to you. And that's exactly what my upcoming program, Purposeful Productivity, is designed to help with. It's a complete system for creating the habits, systems, and daily structure that make it easier to stay focused, manage all the moving parts of your life, and keep making progress towards your goals. Click the link in the description to join the waitlist and be the first to know when it launches. All right, so moving on to tool number 3. As much as I love using tech products, digital tools, apps, software, things like that, I try to be pretty intentional about it and only use digital tools when they provide a unique, significant benefit that I can't get anywhere else. Otherwise, I'll opt for a simpler alternative, perhaps an analog alternative, especially when the analog version is just as effective as the digital version, if not more in some cases. And one of those cases is with journaling and daily planning, where I think deep thinking is better done by hand in an analog format. And for that, I've been using this Leuchtturm journal recently, along with some of these Muji pens, which I really like. So firstly, I want to give a shout out to my friend Resu. He's the one who really put me on to this journaling stuff. He's got a bunch of videos on his channel about his journaling method. So he inspired me to get this journal and start trying out his life tracker method, which has worked really well. I've really enjoyed it so far. And since then, I've kept that up, as well as incorporated some other journaling techniques and planning methods, all using this Leuchtturm journal. Now, the best part about using a simple notebook like this is not only does it allow you to escape the digital world for a little bit, but it is truly a blank canvas that you can customize to whatever you're sort of feeling like in that season of life, whether it's planning things out, reflecting, brainstorming, just writing your thoughts, whatever you want to do, you can do it on any particular page of this notebook. So for example, some weeks I'll do a bunch of just writing out my thoughts and reflecting on something that's going on, working through some sort of problem or project in my life. And this just really helps with clarity and overall mental health. But other weeks I'll use it mainly for tracking my habits and daily highlights, like Resu's life tracker method involves. And then also just kind of time blocking out my day in a way that is sort of inspired by some of Cal Newport's methods. Also sometimes use it to write out my weekly plans, quarterly goals, life vision, or track different metrics that are relevant to my life at the moment. The beauty of it is that it can really adapt and flow with whatever season of life you're currently in. Now, this next tool helps me remember the things that I've learned. So my favorite method for learning things is either reading books or listening to podcasts. I will sometimes watch YouTube videos as well, but not as much anymore. Most of the time, it's either books or podcasts. But no matter what type of content you consume, it will really only help improve the quality of your life if you, 1, remember it, and 2, actually implement it into your life. And 2 tools that help me do this are Readwise and this app called Snipped. So starting with Readwise, what it allows you to do is easily compile all of the highlights that you've made on your Kindle. So I personally like to read a lot of books on my Kindle, whether it's on my actual Kindle Paperwhite or on the Kindle app on my iPad mini or iPad Pro or even my phone or computer. And as I'll read, I'll kind of highlight key passages or make little notes to myself, either summarizing what I've just read or connecting it to other ideas that I have. And it's easy for a lot of that to just get lost in the digital realm, but thanks to Readwise, it will import all of that, and so you can easily review it later through the Readwise app, or you can even sync it to a Notion database or maybe even Obsidian or things like that. Now, the cool thing is this doesn't just work for Kindle books. You can also sync highlights from articles on Instapaper, blog posts, email newsletters, and my personal favorite is podcasts. So that's where the second app, Snipped, comes in. Basically, Snipped is a podcast player where you can import your favorite podcasts or subscribe to them and then as you listen to the podcast, you can create these snips, which are basically like making a highlight in a book, except it's with a podcast. So it will capture that portion of the recording as well as the transcript, and it will generate this little AI summary of the key idea there. So as you're listening, you can manually create a snip, or it actually has an AI tool that will automatically create a snip anytime there's something interesting that is said, and it will give you this nice summary. And then you can import all of that back into Readwise to look over later and add into your notes or whatever sort of knowledge management second brain system you might be using. And the added benefit of developing a learning system like this is that it keeps your consumption more intentional. So the things you learn aren't solely based on just whatever the algorithm chooses to feed you on a particular day. And in the long run, that time that you've spent learning and listening to podcasts will compound, and you'll be able to build up this sort of knowledge database that you can always come back to, instead of that time just sort of going down the drain and you're just forgetting everything that you've learned. All right, this last tool addresses an aspect of life that is arguably more important than everything else we've discussed in this video, and that is your health. Now, I've gotten super into health optimization over the past few years, partially because I've had various family members who have suffered from lots of health problems, but also because my friends got me this Oura ring, and this was kind of, I guess, my gateway into the whole rabbit hole of health optimization. And honestly, I'm glad that I got into all of this, because I do think it genuinely improves my quality of life. The Oura ring, if you don't know, provides a lot of detailed data about the quality of your sleep, which is one of the key foundations for building a healthy lifestyle. It'll give you a daily score on your overall readiness, sleep quality, and activity, along with supporting detailed metrics. And a lot of people, when it comes to health stuff, just sort of rely on guesswork and just generally how they feel. They have like a vague idea of like, oh, I slept too much or I didn't, which is good to a certain extent. You want to be in tune with the natural rhythms of your body. But if you're trying to build healthier habits, having that raw data, that real truth as to how good of a night's sleep that you got and how much sleep you're actually getting is really important. Because I know I thought that I would always get, around 8 hours or something of sleep, because I'd go to bed at 10 and wake up at 6. But in reality, that was not the case, because of course you're not sleeping for those full 8 hours that you're in bed. And, sometimes you're in different stages of sleep, or you're getting woken up slightly in the middle of the night, or it takes you a few minutes, things like that. And it can help you spot trends and patterns so that you can make different lifestyle changes to improve your sleep. And of course, by getting better sleep, this will have downstream positive effects on just about everything in your life. Now, once I started optimizing my sleep, I also got into my nutrition and following more of an animal-based diet, tracking calories, things like that. I've also been taking some blood tests, which have been super eye-opening, and compiling all of this health data into my Apple Health app has been really cool as well. And it also has created this sort of positive feedback loop where I track this health data and then I make some improvements to different parts of my lifestyle, and then the data improves, and also I genuinely feel better because my health is better. And it's kind of amazing once you get into it. It's sort of like a cheat code when you just feel healthy and energized all the time. It just makes every other part of your life so much better. Now, before we wrap up, there's actually one more tool that I use all the time that didn't make the list in this video, and that is Apple Calendar. Most people think of it as just a place to dump meetings, appointments, and things that you kind of hope to do with your time, but with the right approach, it can really help you organize your life and finally take control of your time. Click this video to learn how to use Apple Calendar to manage your time. I'll see you in a bit.